Phone on silent.
Right, and we're live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Premier League podcast. I'm your host today, Martin Franc, replacing Harry Scarfe as he's busy and away doing some things with college. And I've got two lovely guests on this channel, so I'll introduce one by one. So, firstly, Mike, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. No, happy to be back. I haven't been on here in a while, so it'd be great to get back into it. I'm looking forward to talking about the Premier League for the first time in a few weeks, given it's been international break, and it's going to be a great show. Nice to meet you, mate.
Nice to meet you as well. And, Tottenham Hotspur haven't kicked the ball in, 8-9 days? And we've got so much to talk about with Tottenham Hotspur. So that's an interesting topic.
And I'm happier for
Exactly. John, welcome to the channel. Lovely to see you again. How are you?
Big up to you, Martin. Big up to you, Mikey. First time. I hope you're well, and thanks for having us on. And buzzing for the short and neat. And my channel's going really well. I've got lots of TikTok fans as well, which is great. So big up for TikTok watchers. I should have linked it up, shouldn't I, for TikTokers, because they would have loved to see us on live. So yeah. So thanks for having us on, my guy.
Perfect. Yes, lovely to see both of you guys here. Right, so main topics for today. Pretty simple. Igor Tudor sacked on Sunday. Roberto De Zerbi introduced as the new Tottenham Hotspur permanent manager on a 5-year deal. We'll have a lot to talk about. And Premier League table prediction. So I'll start with you, Mikey. Igor Tudor sacked. Was you expecting it to come on Sunday, or was you expecting maybe Tottenham Hotspur to follow through with everything that was happening around Igor Tudor and his family?
I was expecting his dismissal after the Nottingham Forest game. It was very much viewed as a do-or-die situation for him by most in the media, and so it proved. I think with what happened to his father as well, it wasn't again, my thoughts go out to him first and foremostly as a human being. It's an awful situation to be in. So my heart goes out to him. But as we said in the statement when we sacked Ange, we can't afford to be emotional. You've got to be logical. It was probably time for him to go. He hadn't gelled with the squad. There were a couple of promising signs against Liverpool and Atletico Madrid, which is probably what gave him the Forest game as such a crucial game. But then those signs were unfortunately all taken away in the second half as we crumbled, basically. And I think once you find out the past of his father, that pressure he'd be under personally and also professionally. I think it was a best idea for it to be a mutual parting of the ways, give some respect. They even gave his father a good send-off in the statement that they released. They mutually decided to depart, and I think that was ultimately the best course of action for all involved, especially following the defeat and the tragedy happening on the same day as well, which must have been just an absolute shock for Igor Tudor.
Definitely. I agree with you. I think that the club do not handle well with certain things, but I think that they handled this situation, specifically very, very well. So, big up to the club and the board. You have to give flowers where they're due, and I think that they dealt with this situation very well, because a lot of fans were speculating why Igor Tudor is still in the job, but they obviously do not understand, the circumstances that were actually occurring at the time. And Igor Tudor ended Tottenham Hotspur's reign as one of the worst managers in history of the Tottenham Hotspur and Premier League in total. So just looking at the Premier League, 0% win rate, the first ever as Tottenham Hotspur manager. He is the third joint worst manager to come into a club and go winless in their first 5, drawing with Ange Postecoglou from this season at Nottingham Forest. And only 2 other managers have surpassed that. Now, 1 win from 7 games. So, John, how would you rate Igor Tudor's time in Tottenham Hotspur? Now reflecting on it, do you think it was a bad decision to appoint him in the first place?
100%, because Igor Tudor, obviously he used to manage Juventus, and as a manager he starts really well where he's been, and then obviously how do I pull it, get them going. But on this instance, I think it was a bad time. What Spurs needed is Premier League experience. There's managers out there, right? You can even get ex-Spurs players or Spurs legends who could be at the club, Harry Redknapp, Tim Sherwood, Glenn Hoddle, okay, outgoing players that is in their 60s, 70s and that. There's you could have appointed an up-and-coming manager sort of from abroad, but he needed Premier League experience, I think Igor Tudor's appointment was a very, very strange move, especially where you are. I know I don't want to keep on saying that you got the Premier League experience, but if you're a good manager, you're a good manager. However, when he came in, he played a back three because he's a back three manager, and then he changed it to 4-4-2. Now, I went to that game, Spurs against Palace, yeah, from a YouTube channel, yeah, and I've got to say that the Spurs fans, when they left, when Spurs scored the third goal, the fans absolutely streamed out the stadium. They just wanted to go home. They wanted to go home, and they had just seen enough. They saw enough. But I think the players need to take the blame as well, though, Martin. You know what I mean? You got Cuti Romero, right? I'm not being funny, but his attitude, he's a captain. The captain situation, the leader, right? And then a sample, right? The second goal against Forest, right? I'll keep it brief. The second goal against Forest, right? That's on him. He trudged back. That's the captain. And the captain in importance. And he goes and does that. When you're in a relegation fight, right? You have to fight. You have to have passion. You have to be, up for it. Cuti Romero, I'm sorry. I rate the guy, but his attitude stank. Van der Ven, right? He's another one as well, yeah? He shows up when he feels like it, yeah? There's one player I take, right? It's Archie Greer. He's been magnificent this season since he joined the club. But going back on Tudor, right? I mean, for me, first off, rest in peace, Igor Tudor's dad. I've been there, lost my mum last year, so I know how it feels. But your family, I'm going to say it now, your family comes first before football. There'll always be a football, but there'll never be a family when you lose them. But having said that, look at the results, hasn't been great. 1 point since he's been there. That ain't good enough. And I'll be real. I think Spurs made the right decision at the right time to relieve Dean Loftus' duties. Simple as that. So I wish he go well. I wish I do. And you know what, mate? I've got to say this now, right? It was a bad appointment at worst time. You needed someone with Premier League experience.
Fantastically put, John. You touched upon a lot of things that we will touch upon today, including Christian Romero. And like you mentioned, I think Igor Tudor, as a person, as a gentleman, he, I think, conducted himself very well. Just if you remember his first ever press conference, he actually shook every journalist's hand. But the fact he was there for 43 days and only got 1 point in the Premier League, which was actually against Anfield, which granted him the game against Nottingham Forest, because I think that if he would have lost that game, it would have been a likely possibility he would have been sacked already after it. Now, you make a fantastic point there. And I will also allude to Mikey's point as well when he was mentioning Igor Tudor. And the conduct of some of the players, it didn't feel like he actually got them on board. And, he was brought in as a firefighter that, comes in, has an instant impact. And that brings me on to the second point of this show today, and it's Roberto De Zerbi's appointment. Now, Roberto De Zerbi is not necessarily known for being a firefighter, for coming in. He's actually never come in mid-season and rescued a club or has no experience doing so. And usually with his starts at the beginning of the season with a pre-season are very slow. If we look at Brighton, we look at Marseille, it's only 2 or 3 wins out of the first 7. So, Mikey, coming on to you, what are your opinions on this appointment of Roberto De Zerbi? The fact that the club have not gone for an interim manager, but actually gone all out Roberto De Zerbi, giving him a 5-year contract.
Well, there's been reports that no matter what happens, was De Zerbi signed a 5-year deal. He's here to stay, whether we're in the Championship or not. He sees this as a way to rebuild a massive club with him at the front and center of it. You saw how Pochettino's stock rose when he rebuilt Spurs. This is an even bigger job, and if he can pull it off, great. That being said, De Zerbi the manager and De Zerbi the man are 2 different opinions. It's like separating an art from the artist, so to speak. From a footballing point of view, he's the best candidate we could have got at this moment in time. We've offered him a bucket load of cash, 15 mil a season for 5 years with no relegation clause, which means if we get relegated and he wants out, we have to pay him his full salary or at least a negotiated settlement, which is going to pocket him at least 30 million, which I believe would make him the biggest compensation package of all time if he was to leave at the end of the season, which you're not signing a 5-year deal for 7 games, so you can put that speculation to bed. As a footballing mind, he's one of the best tactical minds in the world when it comes to theorizing. Putting it into practice is a different story. And he's not a firefighter, he's a fire starter, is how I would describe him. He is that kind of manager. On the flip side, I'm not going to get into it too much because it's a footballing show, not a morality show, but I am disgusted at this appointment, to be brutally honest, from a personal perspective, because of issues that everybody will be very familiar with. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to name any names, but from a human perspective, we've gone. I don't know what else to say except I can't see myself attending any Spurs games with him in the dugout, and that's just from a morality point of view. But I understand a lot of people won't agree with that. Keep politics out of football, etc. But it's a little bit of a sore one for me because I never wanted De Zerbi in the first place. But now that he's here, I hope he does well from a footballing perspective. But I won't be, the biggest fan of him as a person. Is what I'm saying.
No. You make a good point there, and I will make my opinion known as well in a minute. But John, coming on to you because Mikey makes some very good points that splitting the Roberto De Zerbi as a man and as manager. What is your stance on this? And do you think it's the right appointment for Tottenham Hotspur?
I think it's a great appointment, but I'm going to be honest with you, right? I'm looking at a different angle here, but I think, and it's going to upset a lot of people, but I think De Zerbi's pulled your pants down there. And I'll tell you for why. Because, right, he didn't want to come in the first place, right? Work this one out. He didn't want to come in the first place. He wanted to come in the summer, right? And then they offered him again. He said, no, exactly the same thing, right? Because he fear that he don't want to get relegation on CV, yeah? He made it quite clear. He said that, we visit it at the end of the season. He's not going to come in. He'll be yours until after the season. Basically, what he's saying is, it'll come if you don't get relegated, right? And there you are. Spurs had no choice, offering him what he wanted. 15 million a season, 5-year contract. Okay, cool. I come in. He takes the job because there's a lot of money. This is why the Premier League is the money league. And I've said that all the time. However, right, if you look at this, Spurs been to, he doesn't start well, but he does improve players. I'll give him that. The style of football is going to be totally different than what you're seeing, right? So the players better get used to it and quick, right? And also on top of that as well, right? He's a good manager, but he has to have things his own way. He could be another Conte if things doesn't work away. He's going to find out what it's like here. I'm sure he spoke to Antonio Conte about taking a job on. I'm sure he did, but no, we don't know that, yeah? Or he might think, you know what? I take the money. But you got a good manager there. I'm not going to talk to him about him when he was at Marseille, the comments he made. I'm not going to come on here and say that, people have their own opinions on the guy, him and Mason Greenwood, yeah? But if he keeps you up, you get a large bonus, right? And I tell you what as well, if you do stay up though, Mikey, I tell you now, you cannot have another season like this ever again. Never, ever again. That's twice now, right? The third one may not be so lucky. You've got some good players there. It can work with those players, yeah? But one thing I'm going to say, right? Those players now have got to fix up for him. They must fix up. If they don't fix up, they're checked out. And some of those players have already been checked out. But seeing that, I think De Zerbi will come in. Can he save you? I think he left it too late, I'm afraid, because he's trying to implement a style of football Spurs players are not used to, right? Maybe similar to Ange Postecoglou, you'll get it, but they need to put their skates on quickly. Because I tell you now, if they don't fix it up, they're going down, mate. Is it a good appointment? I say yes, he is. But he doesn't stay at club so long. And a 5-year deal, if he survives 5 years, then you know what? Come and find us. And I don't run people wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I agree because, like you mentioned, his average rate of staying at clubs is 1 year, 9 months maximum. He's been in a club at Sassuolo for 3 years. That's the maximum he's been at. But Sassuolo was one of the starting clubs that he was at, where he actually got them 2 consecutive finishes in 8th spot, which was overachieving with a team like Sassuolo. Now, this is a fantastic point that you make, John. Does he keep us up? And this is my next question coming round for you, Mikey. Now, I agree. I think from all the possible options that were, at the table available, Roberto De Zerbi, I believe, is tactically one of the best coaches available right now on the market. There is no doubt about it. Yes, as a man, from a moral standpoint, it's one thing looking at it. From a footballing perspective, he has improved things wherever he's been, and his philosophy is, what modern football has become, and it's so progressive. I would maybe even argue it's more progressive and maybe elite than Pochettino's in this modern game of football. If you watch the US men's national team's friendly games, it's, and you look at the Zerbi's Marseille, even in recent, the last fixture that he had. So, Mikey, coming on to you, I know that you've made your point clear with De Zerbi as a man, but do you think the chances of Tottenham Hotspur staying up with his appointment have increased, or are they still the same?
I think the more you look at football, the more you realise that tactically astute managers don't always translate into amazing success. Tactical theory, yes. You put 11 markers on a whiteboard and tell him to explain his football, who look like one of the most revolutionary managers out there. You ask him to implement that football with the players that we have, who look downtrodden, low on confidence. Confidence is everything. I hate to say it. Football is 50% vibes, 50% thought. You can have the thought, no problem. He is, again, a tactical genius. But then Thomas Frank looked like a tactical genius in those videos with James Alcott, for example. Anyone who knows about football can be put in front of a tactics board and sound like they know what they're talking about. Implementing it at the highest level, which I think most of us would agree the Premier League is an entirely different matter. So my opinion is that the proof is in the pudding. I've got, obviously we've seen it with Brighton. He did well, then didn't do so well from off the pitch, on the pitch, whatever. From a purely footballing perspective, yes, he is an amazing coach. But again, the tactical theory doesn't always translate into tactical aptitude. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the way the players are. Because do we have players that suit his style? Yes. Are they all injured? Yes. So we'll have to wait and see. I've seen a lot of today's been quite a bad day on Spurs Twitter because obviously it's April Fool's Day. So I've seen a lot of accounts going, Bergvall suffers ACL, Kudus is out for the end of the season, and I'm just going to wait till Sunderland to figure out what's actually going on with the Spurs injury situation. But I'm looking forwards to seeing what De Zerbi has to offer, at least in the immediate term.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I think I also saw Pap Sarr that he might have a knock, but also could be April Fool's Day. I'm not sure if it was from a reliable source. One thing I will mention that Mikey has touched upon is, will Roberto De Zerbi be able to actually translate that tactical, aspect of his onto the players that are low on confidence? There is no debate about that. He has literally got, because his first training will be on Friday. He flies in tomorrow, first training on Friday when every single player returns from international duty. That is just 9 days until the next game, which means roughly 8 days on the training field. John, in your opinion, does he have that instant impact to help Tottenham Hotspur survive? Because you have potentially mentioned a third season, but is a second season even guaranteed for us to not go down?
Thing is, right, all depends how he does. He needs to find 6 points to stay in the Premier League. 6, maybe 7. Yeah, there are also winnable games there for De Zerbi to win. Yeah, I think he's a cracking man, so I really do. Yeah, you look at the fixtures he's got left. Leeds United at home, you have to win that game. Wolves away, you have to win that game. Yeah, Sunderland, maybe a point, but I hope you beat them, by the way. But saying that, where this win's going to come from? And another thing is, you're not scoring enough goals for me. Solanke, I'm not sure about him. Richarlison blows hot and cold, but so De Zerbi would play a 4-2-3-1. Yeah, so that means he's got to play the strongest back four, and your goalkeeper's a problem as well. You need to get a new goalie in the summer. I really do think you need to go. For you, if you can get him, it's Suzuki for Parma. He's a cracking keeper for Japan. Japan number 1. He is your guy to set the ball rolling. You get him, that's a good start because he's a cracking keeper. He really is. But De Zerbi, yes, I think he needs to implement it on the pitch, yeah. Like you said, he's only got, 8 days to sort it out, 9 days to sort it out. But I think getting him now, I think he may just keep you up this season. I really do. And the holding midfield is going to be crucial. Archie Greer and Lewis Bergevall will be good in a holding role. And you need to get Kudus back, Maddison back. Those two are key. And Kulusevski, I don't know when he's ever going to come back. That's the thing. So you've got some good players there, Martin. You've got cracking players at the Football Club Tottenham. It's all about the care, the love, and the right manager. And I think De Zerbi could be that guy to get you in.
Thank you, John. But going back to your point that you made a few moments ago was actually, you mentioned we actually have to look at the players as well now. And it's been like that. We can go back to Antonio Conte's run 3 years ago, and he mentioned that the players, they're individuals, they play for themselves. They don't play for the badge. There's no fight. There's no desire. And, going 3 years forward, like you mentioned, we do have some cracking players, but there is just no fire in that belly. And Mikey said that, he's not a firefighter, but he's a fire, in a belly starter. So that could play a big role. Mikey, last question before we move on to the table is, like John has already alluded, because, De Zerbi, everywhere where he's been to, 4-2-3-1 system, you play Archie Gray in that role in number 6. Who plays with Archie Gray for you?
It depends on what profile of player. I know it's not. I don't want to be the guy who goes, it depends on every factor, but it does. It depends on what opponent you're facing. If we're going away to Stamford Bridge, game 37, and we need 1 point to survive the drop when we've got Everton who are fighting for the European qualification in the final game, he starts Palhinha and Gray. If you're looking at Leeds United at home going, we've got to go for that, he starts Gray and Bergvall, for example, or he even starts Madders in a deeper role and goes for Xavi Simons with Kudus, Colomani and Mattis Tell, for example. It depends on the opposition. It depends on the day. I know from what I can recall, he prefers one out-and-out sitter and one progressive. So that would indicate Gray, a Palhinha, and then a Bergvall or a Sarr next to him. But it remains to be seen. I would go Gray and Bergvall in the biggest, in the lower, and then I go as unpopular as it might be, I'd go Palhinha and Bergvall in the bigger games. Not Palhinha, but Palhinha Gray, in the big games. Because while I do love Bergvall, I think Palhinha is a great a destroyer, and he's there to do a job. So we have looked so overrun in midfield for most of the. People talk about our bad defense. The best defenses are the ones that don't have to put in a tackle. The best goalkeepers are the ones that don't have to make a save because the team works as a system. Your midfielders should be doing the bulk of the tackling, not the defense. And if the defense is having to bail you out, like Van Dijk has the most blocks or clearances in the league this season, which is an indication he's having to defend too much. Your midfield has to be the one, and we've looked so overrun for the last 2 and a bit years now. So midfield, as John said, is the key. And I think having a Gray, Bergvall, or Palhinha Bergvall, or whoever else, it honestly doesn't, the personnel don't really matter if they can't cover the ground. And Gray, Bergvall, Palhinha can cover ground. So can Sarr. I don't want to see like Bentancur or Bassoum, where I think those two are past it now. Although De Zerbi does love a controversial character, so don't rule out Bassouma starting a few games. So we'll see what happens. But all jokes aside, Archie Gray has to start. Who partners him, it will be either Palhinha or Bergvall. I think those two are the best choices.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Maybe the argument to that, the challenge to that for you would be, Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, the lack of experience in this relegation fight. Do you partner him with Conor Gallagher? But that's all just speculation. And like you mentioned, I think you're on mute.
Completely forgot about Conor Gallagher. I forgot we even signed him. He's another one. I completely forgot we signed him. Yeah, so we've got a couple injuries there, but still, like with Bergvall coming back, that pushes people like Bentancur further down the thing. Would I start Gallagher? I think he's a great player to come off the bench. But if you're going for a game and you've got a technical player, like he's not just he's tenacious as well, but a technical player like Bergvall, a determined fighter like Palhinha, and an elegant superstar in the making like Gray, I don't see where a player who's on 200 grand a week fits in, unfortunately. But who knows? Maybe Gallagher will become Roberto De Zerbi's Caicedo. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many question marks to be raised in his final 7 games of the season, which comes on to you, John. Now, let's get into the Premier League predicted table. The game week 38 has finished, and this is John's prediction. Now, we'll start from the bottom, okay? We'll start from the bottom of the table. It's maybe more easier to go like this. So, we could potentially debate and argue, but most likely 20th and 19th are almost guaranteed. Wolverhampton Wanderers, Burnley sit there. The more interesting aspect that has been maybe more interesting than the actual Premier League, title race this season has been the relegation battle. John, West Ham United, Tottenham Hotspur, Nottingham Forest, Leeds United. One of these 4 teams will suffer a drop into the Championship next season. Give me your bottom 3 going down for next season.
Yeah, it's got to be Wolves. They've left it too late. They'll definitely be going. Burnley are going to go with them, but the one's going to go with them. I'm looking at the fixtures, right? I think Forest might be okay. They need to score more goals. Leeds United, if you look at their fixtures they've got left, it's not too bad. It's a question of winning it. Then it comes down to you guys and West Ham. I think West Ham's got some tricky games as well. They go to Palace away. I think they've got to play Wolves at home. That's the next home game. And Spurs, wow. What can I say? You put us on the spot now. But it's going to be very, very close. But I think I'll put my neck out. I'm going to, I think Leeds to get out of it. I think Leeds to win one more game and I think it'll be okay. They will get out of it. It's a hard one. It is a really, really hard. I think West Ham's got leaders and fighters. I think I don't know what to say. I'm scared. I'm scared of saying this, but given the form out of 4, I think Spurs got the worst 4. I really do. I really do. And I hate to say to Martin, I really hate to say it. I'm looking at these forms. I'm going to have to say Tottenham.
No, I like your honesty.
Sorry about that. Sorry, Harry's been watching me.
There's nothing to be sorry. So I'm just writing you down with Spurs going down. That would be arguably the biggest shock in modern Premier League history after maybe Leicester winning the title. It would be absolutely gigantic if Tottenham Hotspur end up going into the Championship. And the worst part scenario is that, Arsenal, we will get into that on the table, but are probably going to win the league. And for Tottenham Hotspur to be relegated in the same season that Arsenal will go and win the league would be devastating for Tottenham. So that is a very bold prediction, John. Anyway, we have our third guest of tonight, Matt. Welcome, Matt. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm doing good. I just got back from a dentist appointment, so I'm all good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing great as well.
Great.
Right. I hope your teeth are good. And now I want to hear some good predictions for your final 3 going down. So that's 20th, 19th, and 18th spot. Who is the team out of the 4 that are still fighting for relegation survival? Who is the team that you put 18th? And let me know also 20th, 19th. Maybe you think Wolverhampton Wanderers managed to jump over Burnley. There is only a 3-point, gap between them now.
So are we doing it this season? Yeah.
This season.
Okay. So
first 8 finishes. What is the Premier League table looking like? We're going from bottom to top.
Okay, so in 20th, I've got Burnley.
Okay.
I think Wolves are going to surprise a lot of people. Over the coming months. I did say a couple of weeks ago that Wolves would fall off, but I've just got something in me that Wolves are just going to keep on fighting because they've probably accepted that they're going to go down. But I think that they could, easily get 19th, if they churn out their results. So I'm going to go Burnley 20th. I'm going to go Wolves 19th. And although that they've signed a manager for 5 years for ludicrous money to the point where he's on higher money than Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, I'm going Tottenham to go down. Heart says they'll go down. Head says they'll go down as well. Am I going from 17th to 1st or just the top?
Just wait, and we'll get on to Mikey, and then we'll do the 17th to 15th and so on.
Okay,
fine, Matt. I can't disagree with you based on form. Tottenham Hotspur are yet to win in this calendar year. We're winless in 12 games. It's one of the worst runs we're on since 1914-15 season. When if we translate points into for a win, that's 3, which is an absolute insane statistic. Mikey, I'm really hoping you say something more positive to make me feel a little bit better.
I am, but not for the reasons you're hoping. I do think if every team was given the same fixtures to win over the next 7, Tottenham do go down. What I think will save us is Nottingham Forest's last 4 games of the season are Chelsea, Newcastle, Man United, and Bournemouth. 4 very difficult games, no matter if you're home or away. 4 difficult games against teams that are fighting for Europe. Wolves have a very favourable run. They've got to play West Ham, Leeds, and us, so 3 relegation rivals. I think Forest are just. I think Leeds are good enough to stay out of it. I think DCL is quality Premier League striker when he's fit and firing. They've just got that match winner. He's got that match winning ability. He can out-muscle, out-jump nearly any Premier League centre-back. So you spam crosses in, he'll get his noggin on one of them. Palace aren't in any trouble. Burnley and Wolves are done. I do think Burnley finished 20th. I didn't know it was only 3 points. I still thought it was like 6 or 9 points, but no, it's only 3 points. Funny thing is, final day of the Premier League season, Wolves and Burnley play each other. So I think that would be a nice little dress rehearsal for the Championship. And you'll also have, I think Forest are in it. I know that they did beat us 3-0, but I just those 4 games, and they haven't exactly got kind of fixtures before it with Villa and Sunderland still to play. I just think they've got an incredibly difficult run of fixtures. They will slip up in a couple of games. There's no way they win all of those. Vitor Pereira is a good but not amazing manager. So I think what will save Spurs, despite how bad we've been, is the complexities of Forest games. So I'm going to say Forest are going to go down as well, just because of how hard those games are towards the end of the season.
Perfect. So who have you placed on in 20th?
Burnley 20th, Wolves 19th, Forest 18th.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to give mine out, and I'm going to be slightly. I had written what Mikey has said, that Forest will go down. I'm going to be slightly more controversial with this now, and I'm going to say West Ham United don't make it. Simply,
I can't see a world where West Ham get relegated, because they're the only team out of Tottenham, West Ham, and Nottingham Forest that are actually showing fight and determination to win games, to win points. Personally, I can't see a world where they get relegated in terms of the 2 teams that they're battling with.
I don't blame you. The only reason I've said so is, what if, in a world of what if a Jared Bowen gets injured? What if Mavropanos gets injured? Mavropanos has been fantastic in recent weeks. What if he gets injured? And I don't think they have enough quality in comparison to Nottingham Forest or Leeds United to stay up.
I think the injury question is more pertinent for Spurs than it is for West Ham. I think you're looking at West Ham saying, what if they get injured? Well, it's not for Spurs. It's when will they get injured, not what if. So
Spurs have already got injuries, so they're kind of used to it now.
The injury question is more apt for Spurs, I reckon. But I do see the West Ham point, but I think they've got their run of fixtures. There's not even winnable. There's drawable games there. Like Brentford, West Ham, that screams draw. Crystal Palace, West Ham, that screams draw. They're going to pick up 1 point here and there, and those 1 points are what matters at the moment. Spurs aren't even picking up the 1 points. That's the thing. If you can't get a win, at least get a draw. Whereas, I think West Ham have just got that in them. And I think Forest have enough quality to stay up, but the only reason just that those games are so difficult.
Good points. And I don't blame you. Also, one thing is the goal difference as well is -21 for West Ham. And, if you look at the second worst, that's Nottingham Forest with -12. So could that play a role potentially? But we'll wait and see. Now, John, back on to you. Thank you so much for your input. So you've put Spurs down. Don't blame you in any way, shape or form. Now, who's your next 3? So who are the 3 survivors, and who just about survives ahead of Tottenham Hotspur, and then who's a little more safer and the most safe out of the relegation fights?
I'm going to say above Spurs, unfortunately, be Forest.
Okay.
I'm going to say West Ham before that and Leeds after that.
Perfect. And why do you say Forest just ahead of Spurs? Why not West Ham?
West Ham got leaders in the team, and they can win at any other time. And when the chips are down, they will find a way because they have got leaders in the team. And Leeds United, they're coming on. They're really a good side. I mean, they rely on DCL and Brennan Anderson. If they score the goals, then Leeds will win games. And I think that's why I think Leeds will just about do enough, because they will have goals to them to keep up. They are good defensively as well. Yeah. And Daniel Farker plays 3-4-3. And defensively, they're a lot better. They're not conceding a lot of goals, but they defend a lot better. And Forest, Scoring goals going to be an issue. I know Chris Wood is back in training again. So when he comes back in, it can make a difference. Will it be the same player? I don't know. But it's like a new signing for the last few games. And this is why I think if Chris Wood comes back and he comes through it and scores, Forest will win games. They're created for the last 4 or 5 games in the league. They created over 100 shots on goal and only scored 1 or 2. That ain't good enough. 1, 2, 3, no, score 4. That ain't good enough. So for me, I think Forest would just about do it in skin in the teeth. They would be finishing 17th. West Ham 16th. Leeds United 15th. And as for West Ham, they have enough to do it. But Forest, if they score goals, then they'd definitely be staying up because they got a good back four. They have got a good back four. Sel's good keeper. We've got Murillo. I like him. He's a fantastic player. And Nicola, what's 7-8? Nicola, remind us? Nicola Milenkovic. He's a class at him. He's a great player. And he's coming on, like, he's a sound defender at him. So I think they'll be okay. But like I said, it's all going to be on them, mate. So, yeah.
Perfect. No, very good points. Very good points. You've backed it. And Milenkovic as well, like you said, plays with his heart on his sleeve, doesn't he? Fantastic.
He does.
Lovely.
Great,
Matt, coming on to you, you've put Burnley, Wolverhampton Wanderers and Spurs. Now, what is your ranking in the relegation battle survivors?
So, I'm going to put Nottingham Forest 17th.
Okay.
I'm going to put West Ham 16th. And are we classing Leeds in a relegation battle?
Yeah,
Sure.
we are. Because they
Okay.
are just 3 points
fair
above
enough.
Tottenham Hotspur.
Then I would put Leeds 15th.
That they've been so under the radar in regards to the relegation battle. If you actually look at the table, they're only 3 points above Tottenham Hotspur. And if West Ham United beat Wolverhampton Wanderers next Friday, they get out the relegation zone. And if Tottenham Hotspur somehow manage to get a result at Sunderland, which I'm not saying we are,
Yeah, it's looking spooky for Leeds, yeah.
Leeds could get dragged right into it very, very quickly. Thank you, Matt. Mikey, are you of the same opinion? Well, you can't be because you've put Forest there. So
yeah, no, I do put Forest 18th again. It's that run of fixtures, but Leeds fixtures aren't too kind either. So, and they play a lot. Leeds play like every single one of their relegation rivals, bar Nottingham Forest, before the end of the season. So there's a lot of games against the relegation rivals at the bottom. I'm going to go back-to-back 17th finishes for Spurs. I think I don't see us finishing any higher. Again, Spurs are the most unpredictable because even though we've been absolute dross this season, we didn't have a new manager bounce. Roberto De Zerbi, I think most would argue is a better coach than Igor Tudor ever was. I think that's probably, I'm going to say, a universally held opinion by most people with some semblance of a footballing brain. And so by that logic, it depends. Is he going to have the new manager bounce? I think because we're so close to the end of it, we're gambling with our lives here. This is make or break, do or die type situation. He can I don't think we're going to let's say like Crystal Palace are 9 points ahead of us. We're not going to, I'm not saying we will, but there's a theoretical world in which I'm not saying we will. I don't think we will. De Zerbi could have the desired effect, win 4 out of our last 7 and suddenly we're 15th and safe, or he could lose his opening 5 and suddenly we're 18th and out of it. It's so unpredictable. So for some semblance of security, I'm going to say 17th for Spurs. I'm going to go actually no, I'll revise that. I'm going to go 17th for West Ham, 16th for Spurs, 15th for Leeds. That's what I'm going to do. That's complete. I'm a very level-headed person sometimes, but I don't like West Ham, so I'm going to put that bias on full show right now.
Yeah, that's why I've put them as relegated in 18th for me. No, I agree with you. I've actually gone Leeds just about 17th, making it out. I think it'll go down to the final game of the season. I think the final game of the season will be huge. Then Spurs just ahead of
Leeds play West Ham that day, don't they?
Yeah, which will be a massive game. And if someone can inform me who's at home in that game,
West Ham.
West Ham have the advantage. So maybe it could be Leeds actually slipping down and be the team that aren't talked about and suddenly make the drop. Now, due to time pushing us, we're going to fast forward to the top 8 of the Premier League. Okay, I do apologize, but we are running out of time slowly. So, John, I will come on to you. So, just quickly revising the table right now. So, we've got Arsenal sitting on top of the Premier League. We've got City, United, and Aston Villa in the top four. Then we've got Liverpool and Chelsea, fifth and sixth consecutively. And then we've got the fight for the Conference League. Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Brighton and Hove Albion, Sunderland, and technically Newcastle and Bournemouth as well, sitting on 42 points, just being 4 points off that top seven. So I want you to give me the eighth as well. I want to know who misses out on European football next season, just as of all the teams that I've mentioned.
For me, I mean, Arsenal's going to win the league.
Okay, so you're going from top to bottom.
So again?
You're going from top to bottom, yes? So from first to eighth.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to go from 12th? I'll go from 12th if you want. I mean, I try to do it from the top.
Yeah, let's do it like this. We can do from 12th to first, and then we can do basically Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. The little fight off there.
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Well, I'll go to Arsenal. Go on. Arsenal to win. City to come second.
Okay.
And then you got United third. And I tell you what, I'll look at the top four. I think Villa will win more games, and they've got John McGinn, and he's one of the important players in that as well. So I think they're going to come fourth, fifth. Liverpool could go on a mad run, but they haven't won the last few games. Chelsea, wow. I tell you what, there's problems at Chelsea, isn't there? I mean, Liam Senior, personally, I don't know if he's a guy to take Chelsea forward. I don't know. He's not ready for it at the end of the day. So I think the top 4, 5, I think Liverpool get back in the Champions League because they probably finished strongly. So the top 5, I think, will be there. Chelsea, I think, you know what? I mean, I think Chelsea might finish 6th this season. I've got them down to 6th anyway. And then I look further down the table. You've got Brentford and fantastic seasons. Brentford's drawn too many games for me, to be fair. So is Bournemouth. They've drawn too many games that are. And Fulham, Brighton will finish with Tibble. Sunderland having a good season. They probably drift down anyway. Probably get down to about 13th, 14th at the end of the season, no matter what. Newcastle United, if I'm honest with you, I don't want to be in the Europa Conference, to be fair, because it's not going to benefit us at all whatsoever. And I don't think we're good enough to be in European football this season, to be fair. You know what I mean? Because we spent 270 million and we're going to end up finishing 10th, 11th this season. I don't think we're good enough. I mean, I think some of the players have already checked out. They're looking for moves away from St. James's Park at the end of the season, to be fair. It's well documented. So for me, obviously we're going to be finishing, if we're lucky, we'll probably be finishing 9th this season because there's better teams above us, unfortunately. Do you know what I mean? Brentford, Everton will keep going. And I think whatever, if you look at the league table, I think it's going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, interesting point. So you've put Newcastle United 9th. So who are you putting 7th and 8th? Because there's still a big fight going on there. Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Brighton, Sunderland, even Newcastle is still in the mix. There's literally just a 4-point gap from it.
Yeah, losing to Sunderland has absolutely killed us. Absolutely killed us. You know what I mean? But if you look at it, I mean, 7 days left, we can still get 5th, we can still get 6th. However, we have got to go on a mad run, and Eddie must have to stop picking his favourites because I'm sorry, some of them are not good enough. But I'd like to give Russ a run of games, but if we're going to put Osula in front of there's a problem there. But for me, I'll make a quick on this one. I say Brentford will keep going, Everton definitely keep going, and Fulham and Brighton having good seasons as well. But you know what? If Bournemouth turns those draws into wins, they'll be up there as well. They have to start winning games, not drawing too many games. You know what I mean? But Crystal Palace, Palace is a funny one for me. They'd probably be just miss on top on gotten 11th.
Interesting. So you've got Palace actually getting results together towards the end of the season.
I think we'd put on a few results for Ollie Glasner before he goes leaves the club. So they've got some good players there, Palace anyway. And Wharton's well documented. He's quality sort of thing. And Sarr looks class. And you've got Larson. started to bang in the goals as well. So I think Palace will definitely finish, I say 11th, but they will finish the season strongly.
Interesting. That's a good point. So you've actually agreed with Cam, who's just given a message here that Brentford and Everton actually getting European football in those places, 7th and 8th. That would be very... sorry. He's gone for Everton actually finishing there. I've put Fulham, and you said Everton. That's my fault. So you've both gone for them actually getting European football. Interesting.
100%. Because having a cracking season, do you know what I mean? The Davy boys, do you know what I mean? And they're a tough side of the crack.
Exactly, and it's the first season as well at the new stadium, so that would be an amazing season for them, finishing in European places. And for Brentford as well to lose their key players, manager as well at the start of the season. Who would have predicted they would be 7th at this stage of the season? So Matt, coming on to you, give me your top 8 of the Premier League at the end of the season.
Okay, so let me just make myself aware of the league table. So 8, I think... I'm just looking at it currently, and I think that Fulham are going to have a strong season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they just about miss out in 8th. I'm going to go Chelsea 8th. Wow. I'm going Chelsea 8th.
Okay, I like it.
I think that they're falling apart under Liam Rossini. I think if you actually hear what the players are saying, I don't think they rate him at all. You look at Enzo Fernandez, he wants to leave. Cole Palmer, he's probably looking to leave. Mark Cucurella, he wants to leave. Like, these top players don't want to play under him. And I think, these predictions are bold, okay. But I think Liverpool are going to go 7th. And I'm not even joking here. But I think Brentford and Everton collectively get Europa League football. That I think... Hold on, is it top 5 for the Champions League, actually?
Yeah. Based on coefficient, it depends. But obviously only Arsenal and Liverpool made it. So.
Okay, scrap that. So I think Brentford will go 7th. I think Everton will go 6th. Liverpool will go 5th. Aston Villa will stay 4th. Man United will stay 3rd. Man City will stay 2nd, and Arsenal will win the league.
Yeah, I think that the top 5 is not really too much for debate. Maybe Liverpool, like some of you have mentioned already, Liverpool 3 games in a row without a win.
Yeah,
their form has been poor, and actually, it's only a 3-point difference.
That's what I'm saying. It's so close.
It's so close. And looking at the goal difference, it's not even that huge either. It's only a +4 goal difference ahead of Brentford. So could Brentford surprise going into the end of the season? That's a very good point. So actually, if I compare John's and Matt's for now, John Everton 8th, Matt Chelsea 8th. Then it's Brentford 7th for both of you guys. John's gone Chelsea 6th, just about missing out on the Champions League place. And Matt's gone Everton 6th, just missing out on the Champions League place. And the top 5 is identical for both of you guys, which brings me on to Mikey. Is yours any different? And Matt made a very bold claim there, and John also made a very good prediction. So what's yours, Mikey?
I'm going to go for Brentford to win. No, I'm kidding. So we've got... so I think number 1 is safe. I think Arsenal will have an insurmountable lead, but it's going to be a Manchester club to finish 2nd, but I don't think it's going to be City. I'm going to put my balls on the line, and I'm going to say I think United will leapfrog City by the end of the season. I see the teams United have got to play. They've got to play Leeds in a massive Roses derby. They've got to play Chelsea, who aren't great. United Brentford's going to be amazing. United Liverpool, given the way Liverpool have been recently, I think that's another game that they can win. Fernandes is gunning for that assist record, and then the last 3 games are Sunderland, Forest, and Brighton. I think United will leapfrog City. I think City will come 3rd. This is probably Pep's last season in Manchester, it looks like, by most accounts. Go out on a high, probably might prioritise another cup, maybe the FA Cup. If they can beat Liverpool, I think he'll probably try and go out on a trophy and going to go for a domestic double in his final season. I think City will go 3rd. I think Villa are kind of sitting cushy in 4th at the moment. Liverpool and Chelsea aren't really doing much. So I'm going to go to top four: Arsenal, United, City, Villa. Then I'm going to say Liverpool fifth. I'm going to say Brentford sixth. I'm going to go Everton seventh, Fulham eighth, and Chelsea ninth. I do think Chelsea are really falling off. Like, I don't think enough has been made of just how poor they've been. And you saw the way, like, Cole Palmer against for the England duty, usually he's making those passes. You saw against Japan and Uruguay, he's hesitating. He's not in confident mood. And when Palmer's confident, Chelsea are confident. When Palmer ain't confident, Chelsea ain't confident. I don't see it. And they haven't got an easy or forgiving run of games as well. You know, they still got to play the likes of Man United. They still got to play Forest, Liverpool. Less impressively us, but still, they've got a lot of bad games. So I think Chelsea will plummet. I'm going to say, and United are the most informed team in the league right now, along with Arsenal. So yeah,
it makes sense putting United second, and it's a good shout that Man United might leapfrog Manchester City.
It probably won't happen. City do have a game in hand and a 6-point lead on them, so it's like 9 points. But why not? I'll make myself look like a fool or like a genius. That's the trade-off.
The thing is that a lot of things can happen. Like, for example, Manchester City could go far in the FA Cup, and that could cause, maybe some extra rotation, and United use that in their favour after the Premier League title has pretty much been out of reach. Interesting point. I'm so surprised you've put Chelsea ninth. However, it doesn't surprise me. Ninth, yes. And it doesn't surprise me because actually, looking at Chelsea, even their last game against, at Goodison Park against Everton, which was a big game because Everton are now just 2 points behind them. They were absolutely off it. They were miles off it. They were nowhere near it. And Matt, us two with John discussed it on the last podcast that we were here. The Everton-Chelsea game, and we all predicted a Chelsea loss, which was also true. Now, Mikey makes a very bold prediction. They're also claiming Everton and Brentford get European places. I would be so in favour of that happening. I really would.
Chelsea are only on 1 win in 6, like in the Premier League, I should say. In the Prem, they're only on 1 win in 6, and even then, that was to be fair, it was quite a comfortable win against Aston Villa away. Yeah. But still, they've got to play City next, then United, which are 2 games. Which again, I said United would drop. I think City will drop points, but United won't. They've got to play Liverpool. They've got to play us, and so yeah, that's I know it's a controversial one, but yeah, most of my friends are Chelsea fans, and they're not going to like me for saying that, but I'm putting my neck on the line.
And one thing we also need to mention of you claiming 1 win in 6, and that was Aston Villa. That game against Aston Villa were in an absolute crisis in their season. They were miles off it. They had lost back-to-back games. They failed to win in Europe as well, and Chelsea managed to beat them. So actually, win against Aston Villa doesn't look even that tremendous as it does on paper. So it covers a lot of cracks, definitely. And like you mentioned, their fixtures are not nice. I would be so in favour of it, and it would be a massive clear out, like Matt has already mentioned. Cucurella, Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer leaving. It would be absolutely insane to see. So now that we have some time spare, I want you guys to give me your remaining fixture. We'll start from 14th going upwards now. Okay, so John, back to you. 14th spot ahead of Leeds that you've put. Who is finishing 14th? At the moment, it does look likely it'll be Crystal Palace, but maybe you've bumped them up, and you have bumped them up to 11th. So I'm interested to see who finishes 14th in your table.
I think it'd be Sunderland. Yes, they pushed above their weight, and I think Sunderland probably drift out. So I've got them down as 14th, and it's not because I don't like them, but it's just thought that they probably drift away. So I'm going to got Sunderland for 14th, just ahead of. Looking at this, maybe Brighton. I know Brighton's having a good season now. They put it together, but Danny Welbeck's doing really well for them. So I'm going to say Brighton 13th.
And who finishes in between Brighton and Crystal Palace, in your opinion? You've put Palace 11th. So who finishes 12th?
I would say Fulham.
Okay. And that leaves us with just 10th spot that is blank.
10th spot. I said Newcastle 9th. I'm going to go Bournemouth 10th.
10th. That's the table complete then. So just a quick recap of John's predictions. Now we'll go for the from the bottom. Wolves 12th, Burnley 19th. He's gone. Any Tottenham fans watching? Tottenham Hotspur 18th to go down. Forest just to survive the drop, with West Ham finishing above Forest and Leeds finishing above both of these teams. And then on top of the table, he's gone Arsenal, City, Manchester United, Aston Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Brentford nicking 7th. Interesting prediction, John. Thank you. I'm agreeing to everything you said, apart from maybe I would be switching Tottenham Hotspur and Nottingham Forest, simply going with my heart, not my head. So that's a very good prediction. Now, on to you, Matt. Let's finish your table off. So you've got, Liverpool finishing 5th, Everton 6th, Brentford 7th. You've gone Chelsea 8th, which is not as bold as Mikey, but very bold. And now let's finish the table going onwards.
Okay, can I start from the bottom and then work my way up?
You can start on it wherever you want.
Okay.
Yeah,
so in 14th, I think, and I'm basing it off of what I've seen over the last 5 to 10 games, I think Bournemouth are going to finish 14th because they've not had a win in so long.
Yes.
Like, I can't remember the last time they won, genuinely.
The last time they won was in January.
Against who? Who was it against?
I'm not too sure.
Don't be Tottenham, please. Please don't be Tottenham.
It was Tottenham. It was Tottenham.
Oh yeah, because
remember they hadn't won.
The Arsenal game.
They hadn't won a few games before that as well. So it's like their only win, and that was the Semenyo final game, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, true. Okay, so I'll go Bournemouth 14th.
Mm-hmm.
I will go I will go Brighton 13th.
Bold.
I will go Newcastle 12th. I will go Sunderland 11th. I will go Crystal Palace 10th. And I will go Fulham 9th.
Thank you. Good predictions. Even mentioning that Bournemouth poor form that they're on. And okay, to be fair, they did put in a very good performance against Manchester United. Manchester United are in big form. But on the other hand, they haven't really, managed to have that winning mentality in their team, and they've struggled. And I think they will continue to struggle. The only reason I'm doubtful of it is because Crystal Palace have been equally so poor. Now, Mikey, coming on to you. So let's recap Mikey's as well. So he's got Forest dropping down, West Ham United just finishing above, Leeds United and Tottenham Hotspur having the most points out of the relegation backwards. Now, on top of the table, Arsenal, Manchester United, City and Aston Villa. So that Manchester United switch of positions, very interesting. Liverpool remain 5th for all of you guys. He's gone for Brentford as 6th. That would be an incredible, Europa League finish. Everton 7th, Conference League football at the Hill Dickinson Stadium next season. Absolute scenes and carnage. Fulham 8th and Chelsea 9th. So, Mikey, what's the rest of your table looking like?
I'm going to say Palace and Bournemouth are going to lag behind. Obviously, they're 6 points clear of Leeds United. Palace, a couple of people are saying, are they in it? No, they're not. They're not in it. It's Leeds below is the ones involved in it. I think Palace and Bournemouth are they're going to finish 13th to 14th. You want me to put an order around? I'll go Bournemouth 14th, Palace 13th, just because I think Palace have a little bit about them. I love Adam Wharton. I like Ismail Assar. I like when he's not throwing up a fast. Victor Mateta. No, Jean-Philippe Mateta. So yeah, they've got good players. I think Bournemouth are just in a rut and they need to find a way out of it. They're not in danger of going down, but I think it'll be Bournemouth 14th, then Palace 13th. I'm going to go Newcastle United 12th. As John said, that derby defeat is going to kill them.
And that's his job as well. It's going to cost Eddie Howe's job as well, because there's been rumours that sort of cutting. It could be, they're safe for now, but I fully expect Eddie to be sacked at the end of the season.
I see.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if Tuchel wasn't the England manager, I honestly think Eddie Howe would be bang on England manager, like 1-to-1.
100%.
He just fits that model of being an England manager and part of the setup. He just fits it perfectly.
I do. I think I know Newcastle haven't exactly got Newcastle's run of games isn't cataclysmic. It's not like they're playing the top 7, but they still got to play Arsenal. They still got to play Forest, who are fighting relegation, West Ham, who are fighting relegation, Palace. They've got a fair few mid-table fixtures, so they haven't really got a whole lot to fight for as well. Like when you lose a derby in the way that you did, Spurs fans can attest to this. You either fight or you float or you sink, right? And they haven't got much to float for. Not to sound like they're out of the UCL. I think they're out of all the cups. Are they in the FA Cup, John? I can't fully remember.
No, they're not in the FA Cup. They're out of season's over, mate. Season's over.
So they haven't got much to fight for. So in that respect, I think it's one of those where apathy kind of sets in as players start to trepidate about fitness for the World Cup coming up. So, well, not in Sandro Tonali's case, but like other players, and so I think it's not to target Tonali. That was just something that came to mind. So I think Newcastle will finish 12th. I'm going to go for Sunderland 10th, Brighton 11th, and then Chelsea up, I've already said. So, yeah.
Perfect. Very good. Thank you, Mikey. Thank you, everyone on this panel. You were all fantastic, and I had a fantastic time with all of you guys. So I'm going to start with John. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for being on again. It's a pleasure to be on with you. An absolute legend, Newcastle fan. Where can people find you?
Thanks very much for having us on, man. Martin, it's been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate that. If you can find me on John Sinclair TV, SS Chester right here, and I'll do matchday vlogs over the country sort of thing, and I've been making memories as well with a few fans as well, which is great. TikTok followers has been fantastic to me as well. I mean, next game is on Friday, Kidderminster Harriers versus Hereford United in the National League North. And then 3 days after, on Easter Monday, I'll be doing the Dorking Wanderers versus Worthing, top 2 in National League South. And it should be one hell of a game. If Dorking wins that game, well, they beat Horsham on Friday and they beat Worthing, and South goes their way, I think they're one step closer of getting into the National League. So I've got some exciting games coming up. I've got the Scottish Cup semi-finals to do. I've got the one on May the first party official against Queen's Park up in Scotland. That could be a title decider if Party win their game and they're close to St John's, so they could be going up as well. So I've got some exciting games. And I've got a mystery game to see it on April the 19th. And I'm not going to tell which game it's going to be.
Perfect. So April 19th, let's keep tuned in. John Sinclair, thank you so much. Pleasure. Now, Matt, where can people find you?
So on Twitter, I am at AFC Matic with 2 X's on Twitter. And that's where people can find me. I'm not on YouTube, unfortunately, but yeah.
Maybe one day. Perfect, Matt. Keep smashing it on Twitter. Now, Mikey, Tottenham fan, where can people find you?
So I've got my handle below my name. It's literally just my name, although it's a difficult name to pronounce. It's just, that's me on Twitter, on X, Twitter, on TikTok, although I don't post yet, on Instagram, and my name's on YouTube, but that's kind of dead in the water. It's not, I haven't posted, but it's just like I just use it to watch YouTube. I don't post on it. So not on YouTube, but Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok is the same username.
Okay, thank you, Mikey. Perfect. So I'll be giving you guys a follow after this episode. So thank you one more time for coming on. It was a pleasure to meet all of you and to be on with Matt and John one more time. So lovely, absolutely lovely. Thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. It was I hope you had a lovely time. I hope maybe that some of the bold predictions actually come true, especially the ones predicting Tottenham Hotspur survivals. And maybe, thank you. Have a lovely evening and see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Take care.